Thank you very much, Mr. Graf. Dear friends, I'm glad to welcome the participants of the annual conference of Sberbank Artificial Intelligence Journey, scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs who are here today in this room, and of course the whole audience, hundreds of thousands of people from different countries of the world watching the events here, and as Mr. Graf has just said, remotely. You see that sometimes the audience abroad is even more important than the Russian one, and there is no surprising about that. We keep developing this area. In some respects, we are one stage ahead than other countries. In some respects, we need to catch up with them. And people who are interested in this area, who are involved in it, try to follow all the new developments, and I would like to mention great achievements of Russia in the area of artificial intelligence. As I have already said, in some respects in this area, we're one step ahead of other countries, and we need to continue to consolidate our efforts. We need to find specific solutions and to make specific steps in this area. I think that today we will discuss that. And we will continue to move in this direction. There is no doubt about that. I'd like to state some facts that may be obvious for everyone. The importance of breakthrough in the area of artificial intelligence is enormous. There is a tough competition between states, and Russia's place in the world depends on the results that we will achieve, as well as our sovereignty, our security, the tenability of our country, the opportunities of Russia to solve tasks of economic and social development, to create good conditions for self-fulfillment of citizens and for the launch of public initiatives at a high level. And I'm glad that a lot of people, including youngsters, share these purposes and contribute a lot to achieving that. I would like to thank Russian researchers who have recently embarked on their path in science, but they are already establishing the technological potential of our country. They include a whole range of young scientists. They include Alexei Naumov, Sergei Samsonov from the High School of Economics, Vladislav Buzdin, and Inna Minashina from the MIPT, Denis Trudakov from the Institute for System Programming, Ruslan Lukin from the Innopolis University, Anna Kaluzhna and Nikolai Nikitin from the ITMO University, Ivan Aseledets from Skoltech, Semyon Budony from the Artificial Intelligence Institute, Yelena Sokolova from the Sber Laboratory. As far as I understand, some of them were present at the small exhibition that we have just visited. I would also like to thank not only the creators and the developers, but also our colleagues who promote the technological agenda, who set this important direction for the future of our country. They include Sber, that has assumed the main responsibility for coordinating work in this area. And of course, I need to mention my colleagues from the government. They include the Ministry of Digital and Economic Development. I would like to highlight that according to international experts in the area of digitalization of state services, Russia is one of the main global leaders. It's among the top 10 in the world. As far as I know, there are about 198 countries assessed. The first three places are occupied by South Korea, Brazil, and Saudi Arabia. They are good partners of ours. Some of them are our closest partners. And of course, a great example of a self-regulation has been set by our business and technological community. There is an AI Russia Alliance. Upon its initiative, there are ethical principles that have been developed. These principles concern the introduction of this technology, and the ethics code involves more than 120 participants. We talked about it 2 years ago, and I'm glad to state that this alliance is still functioning. I will mention it several times in my speech, and it works well. We've made a very important step towards creating relevant conditions. And I believe that you are efficient and reliable partners of the state in the issues of technological development. I'm positive this tendency will be maintained in the future. Thanks to our joint work, we have been dynamically moving towards all the directions of national strategy of the development of artificial intelligence. We support the development of education and science. We introduce support measures for companies. We establish a legal framework, and all this gives tangible results. Mr. Graf, in a specialized demonstration zone that I've just mentioned, just showed specific developments of our technological leaders in different areas. Several years ago, such tangible achievements of the scientific and technical ideas of humanity were impossible to imagine. The solutions that have been developed strike the imagination without any exaggeration, and they obviously are an objective reason for pride, because they have been developed in Russia and for Russia, though they obviously can be used abroad. There is no exaggeration, because these developments are competitive, and in some respects, they even surpass their competitors. Russian companies demonstrate a wide diversity of ideas and of technical solutions in the area of artificial intelligence. What is important, the competitiveness between Russian developers is increasing, and such useful competition obviously stimulates the speedy growth of the industry, improves the quality of the intellectual products and their commercial success. As for leading companies that are successfully implementing the technologies of artificial intelligence, they show a steady rise in profits and in labor productivity. And even such separate examples have a greater influence to improving the efficiency of the whole national economy. At the same time, the potential of a further growth is just enormous, and we need to put it into practice. Thus, according to experts, while implementing artificial intelligence technologies, the prospects for improving the figures in separate areas account for additional 20 or 30% over a decade. As far as I know, Sberbank has been among the first ones who has tested and integrated some technologies of artificial intelligence, and there are good results. I can say that they are impressive. Last year, every 6 ruble was gained due to artificial intelligence technologies that allowed us to increase the quality of the services provided by Sberbank for citizens and for business. I would like to highlight that we have traveled an important part of the journey. We have established the foundation that is necessary for a speedy development of the artificial intelligence. Today, Russia has scientific achievements, unique researches creating breakthrough technologies of a new area. We have accumulated the first experience of their practical implementation. The tasks of the new step for this decade is to ensure an introduction en masse of the artificial intelligence. It should cover all the areas of economy and social area and the system of state management. When Mr. Gref worked in the government, we kept talking about that. Mr. German was highly interested in this area, and we said that it was important to move to a new stage in the management in general. And what we're doing now, what we'll do in the future, thanks to the help of Sberbank in particular, convinces us that we are on the right track. We need to be able to establish a true technological and digital, and in some respects cultural, educational value-based sovereignty of Russia and of the whole society of our country. I think that such priorities are to be set forth in the renewed national strategy for the development of the artificial intelligence. In this respect, I'm asking the administration of the president, together with the government and the IT Russia alliance that I have just mentioned, to prepare a relevant draft decree. We will study it together and then we will adopt it. Dear colleagues, a successful introduction of artificial intelligence, as well as an efficient management of a region, of a company in a modern world, requires a data-driven management. First of all, it means that the decision-making process largely depends and not on the intuition, which is also important. But I would like to say that intuition itself is based on experience and the amount of data accumulated in one's mind. But in this case, even this is not sufficient, and we need to make this decisions not only on the basis of an intuition, but also on the basis of collected and structured data and on their deep analysis. And in this respect, the technologies of artificial intelligence play a more and more dynamic and important role. At the same time, I'd like to highlight that in order to switch to such a modern model, we need readiness, maturity, and prerequisites. What prerequisites am I talking about? Maybe I won't say anything new for this audience. Nevertheless, I would like to say that, first of all, we need to use advanced technologies of lean production, which are to develop best procedures and to decrease losses. People say that if you digitalize chaos, you will have digitalized chaos. That's why being involved in digitalization and the use of artificial intelligence technology, first of all, you need to get under control your own household, as they say. The second element is the system of project management. If such system lacking, then an attempt to introduce any changes will lead to a failure. We need to set clearly tasks and time frames. We need to be result-oriented, and the result should be tangible. We also need to underpin that with necessary resources. I'll reiterate, those are the main conditions that we need to establish a data-driven management system, and it's very important to introduce it in business and in state bodies. In this respect, I'm asking the government and the State Council, in the framework of their work on digital transformation, to prepare and then to implement the switch of the whole system of state authorities on the federal and the regional level to the data-driven management system and a platform-based approach. I would also like to add that we need to strive for the performance of this task in all state bodies and in all key directions. I'm addressing, once again, my colleagues from the government and from the alliance to provide consultative support to your colleagues. I also suggest that our Federal Competence Center in the area of labor productivity join its work. We have been studying the results achieved by some companies, and I'll talk about it in more details later. I'd like to notice that our colleagues in the area of agriculture have shown good results. Now we are solving the tasks of improving the efficiency of businesses through the mechanisms of a lean production. I think it will be a good decision if we expand its mandate. The center is to be focused on the issues of introducing artificial intelligence in the social and economic area, as well as in state bodies, in federal ones, as well as in regional ones. I would like to highlight also what Mr. Gref has already said. Moscow, today I'll refer to its experience several times, has made an important step towards a digital transformation in a lot of areas. In its turn, the Moscow region is on the verge of implementing a landmark project. I'm talking about the implementation of a full-fledged new system of management with a cross-cutting introduction of artificial intelligence technologies. I see the government here in this room. Maybe he'll talk about it later. And I'm asking the mayor of Moscow, Mr. Sobyanin, and governor of the Moscow region, Andrei Vorobyov, to use the platform of the State Council in order to disseminate their experience, to promote it throughout the whole country, just like we already did in some areas. A pervasive, broad use of the best solutions is to improve the level of people's life and to establish new opportunities for them. Thus, the introduction of intellectual system, industrial robots, and autonomous jobs are to decrease the number of everyday functions, and this is supposed to minimize humans' work in harmful and dangerous production facilities. As we see, the result of the introduction of artificial intelligence and robotization is not the growth of unemployment. That's what we talked about 2 years ago, and experts continue talking about that. They say that with the introduction of new technologies, we won't be able to give jobs to some people. But I think that everything is quite the opposite. There will be new, more creative, more substantive, more interesting jobs requiring high-quality professionals. That's what we will achieve if we work in this direction. What is more important, the income of the population is also growing. This is the result that always was achieved throughout the course of history when there were technological revolutions. Companies are able to increase the salaries because they become more efficient themselves, and it happens thanks to an efficient management on the basis of data with the use of machine learning and other technologies. For the Russian business to discover its potential, the state is to establish preconditions on every track, and I will dwell on separately on all of them. So the first thing, the introduction of innovation is not to lead to significant costs for business. That's why since the 1st January 2023, while purchasing and introducing Russian solutions, including in the area of artificial intelligence, business will be able to use tax benefits and to allocate additional resources toward the technological renewal. For example, while calculating the income tasks, we won't take into account the sum which 1.5 times more than the expenses of the company on the purchasing of modernized Russian technologies, and asking the Federal Tax Service to watch closely how conveniently and rapidly these tools will work. The second thing, in order to establish work with data and a cross-cutting digitalization of business processes, which is also important, we need to ensure the cloud infrastructure. Companies should have software and hardware and computer power. I'm asking the government to ensure to provide support in this area and to designate special mechanisms in this framework. I would also like to add that in general, we need to provide assistance to the development of our own sovereign cloud technologies, such as different platforms, services that allow companies, citizens, and authorities to use resources via internet, to work in apps, to store information, and to calculate. We need to establish such mechanisms in order to work, to store data on a Russian cloud platform, and we need to make it more secure than keeping documents in your own computer or on paper. I would like to highlight that we are talking about technological as well as of legal solutions, and I'm asking the government together with the professional community to work on these issues.
The next point is access to depersonalized anonymized data. Previously, a colleague of mine was talking about this as we came to this hall, and we were talking about what we're intending to do in the future and about the matters of access, and I agree with all that's been said, naturally, and I will ask the Parliament to accelerate its work on the relevant draft law. It should be adopted in the shortest term possible. I understand that it's already been through the first reading in the year 2021, and sure, there are still questions remaining regarding the protection of personal information and data, but as far as I understood the report that I heard on the first floor at the exhibition, we're only talking about anonymized data, and naturally this would help improve and increase the efficiency of medical assistance. I understand the concerns that have been voiced here, both by the state and by the businesses, and we must keep in mind all the concerns of the citizens, of entrepreneurs regarding the access to large arrays of information and data sets. We must establish the solid legal frameworks of the protection of rights and freedoms, and naturally we should move forward. We must go on. We must establish the required technological processes to form, anonymize, and store and provide access to the data. And I would ask the Alliance to think about the ways to establish more efficient mechanisms to make sure that the developers have access to this data in the necessary volume and format that is required to establish the solutions for machine learning. I would also ask the executive authorities at all levels to carefully consider, as I already said, the experience of Moscow. The website of the Moscow mayor has a special section where you can get free access to the data on various areas of the city's industries and economy, for example, the transportation, utilities, and so on. And this information is anonymized. It does not comprise any personal data. You cannot identify any particular person or interfere into the private life, which is naturally very important. The fourth point, we've already implemented a large-scale program of support for information technology sphere, and special grants are provided for startups to develop new and continue the current existing projects in the area of artificial intelligence. We also encourage them to create open, accessible libraries of best practices and solutions for the developers. And let me underline that this is an additional measure that works efficiently. It is highly demanded by the developers of artificial intelligence, and which is exactly why we have increased the grant by a third to up to 30 million rubles, and I believe it necessary to continue supporting the technological companies and startups, and I suggest that the Alliance should introduce its specific proposals in this regard. I will not give a list of all the benefits that are provided in this area. I am sure that you're well aware of them, and we believe, and we already talked about it, that naturally they are innovative in their nature. They support the industry. Fifth point, much has been done to adjust the legal playing field to introduce the new technology, to ensure secure testing of autonomous vehicles in all the environments, both on the ground, in the air, and in the sea. We have established the experimental legal frameworks. We must move on towards the development of modern, globally competitive legal foundations for the industry regulation on the use of artificial intelligence and data processing. We've talked about this many times with our colleagues from the businesses, and we understand that these limitations are significant for the future development, and we will keep working with you to analyze the situation and take the necessary decisions, and they must be taken in a timely manner. I fully share your approach to these matters, and of course we must work very carefully to lift the so-called legal barriers which are still in place. Therefore, I would ask the government, together with the Alliance, the developers, the companies of the industries, to introduce their own proposals to change or amend the legal standards, the technological standards and rules, and any other industrial norms which prevent the introduction from artificial intelligence, and we must do this in each specific branch and industry. Everything should be as specific as possible to make sure we're working efficiently. And I'm sure that today the representatives of the business will talk in more detail during the discussion about the necessary changes and amendments to the legal framework. Let me mention only a few of them, which are, so to speak, on the surface. Let me talk about the areas where it is absolutely obvious that artificial intelligence, both in its quality, its speed, and the impartiality of decision-making, already surpasses humans in some cases and will keep on its future development. The intellectual systems are online every second, controlling the condition and the health of drivers, including public transport drivers. No medical worker can deal with this task on their own. The algorithms of artificial intelligence can be used for virtual testing of devices, including the unmanned vehicles, before they go on to be used on the roads. And therefore we can limit the expenses for the testing and limit the risks for the people. And finally, we can move on from the timetable-based repairs to the repairs based on the de facto state of a vehicle or a machine. So instead of the formal approaches, we will move on towards risk-oriented approaches, preventive approaches, when the algorithms will be monitoring the condition of the components and the details of a machine and inform of any possible failure or breakdown in advance. We also need to embed new technological tools into the standard procedures. For example, in Moscow, the use of the technologies of artificial intelligence to support the medical decision-making process has been included in the clinical recommendations and the tariffs of the obligatory medical insurance, and as a result we've improved the quality of a whole number of medical services. We've improved the diagnostic accuracy and research accuracy. Therefore, we're saving the lives and the health of the people, while at the same time establishing a good economic effect, since we're decreasing the need for complex, expensive surgeries, and people spend less time on sick leave. And also we're improving the quality, which is most important. We must hurry up in the introduction of such approaches at the federal level, and I would ask the healthcare ministry to pay special attention to the digitalization and the use of modern technological solutions. Such work is being carried out, and we're aware of that, and the healthcare ministry is using all of that and intends to keep using that. Certain plans have been made. This work is important at all the levels of healthcare, but especially I would like to emphasize that it is most important in the primary care, and here we must talk about this to our colleagues in the regions and the local areas. The next point, I offer to provide companies with the budget subsidies on a systemic basis, and we must establish the requirements to improve the efficiency and the obligatory use of modern technologies, including artificial intelligence. We're not only talking about encouraging the entrepreneurs to progress, we also need to use the innovations to achieve growth of the main indicators, including the labor efficiency, to make sure that we have the necessary feedback, to make sure that we can react to the data that we receive as we work with the business. Speaking of the agricultural producers, they have also been mentioned today on the first floor. We must follow the next logic. If you get the subsidy, you improve the labor efficiency, and this is exactly what we do. Therefore, you improve and increase the output of the agricultural products, and you can achieve such results thanks to the artificial intelligence technology, and this is already the reality that we see today. And this is not something out of science fiction. We are all well prepared and educated in the matter. You know what we are talking about. Time and technological development are accelerating, and each industry or company or organization should make haste and adjust their approaches. They should leave behind their old thinking and move towards the future, and every hour, every minute they must learn something new. Therefore, I believe that each national project or a state program must contain the specific measures which are aimed to be implemented and introduced in the industries, and we must introduce artificial intelligence in them. And our major companies adjust their own investment plans, and let me emphasize that. In their own investment plans, they say that one of their key priorities is the introduction of artificial intelligence technologies. This is what should be done. And we do have the finances and the necessary resources, quite a lot of them in fact, and we must use that to find solutions for the problems that we're discussing today. I would like once again to address the alliance. I ask you to involve all the representatives of the key industries of the economy and the social area, and together we can define the most relevant, the most required technological decisions and solutions in the area of artificial intelligence, which can be used in the specific industries. Based on the results that we receive, the government will have to update its digital transformation strategies for the industry, construction, transportation, agriculture, healthcare, and all the other areas. This means great large-scale work which is absolutely necessary for us all. I would also ask the Alliance to provide comprehensive methodical and consultative assistance to the industries and the organizations. And in each industry in particular, we must establish the centers of industrial competences for the practical use of the Internet of Things technology, machine learning and data processing. We must also establish an annual list of best solutions in this area. Moreover, I suggest that the professional community should introduce a clear metric for the assessment of the products and solutions offered by the artificial intelligence developers to make sure that any entrepreneur or public servant can understand the technical characteristics and parameters that can be used as they choose the specific technology or software. Distinguished colleagues, I would like to talk about one fundamental defining issue: the professionals. Artificial intelligence works well for the interests of the people if it is created and used by competent people, well-prepared people. Today, companies are hunting for specialists in the area of artificial intelligence. I will not go into specific names here, but as we say, on the market, these stories are well known. A person leaves one company and joins another one, and immediately their level falls behind, and they are experiencing problems, which means that finding equally qualified workers is difficult. The shortage of professionals in this area is enormous, and we must find answers to these challenges. This is the common job for the state, for the businesses and the education system. We've already made significant steps to involve everyone into the solutions for practical tasks, both students and school pupils, but we must move forward and introduce elements of artificial intelligence studies into school curriculums for mathematics and computer science. We need to build up the level of teaching for these classes and improve the education level of teachers. And we're organizing various events that involve the joint work, and dozens of thousands of students take part in such events, and millions of school pupils are also involved, and we must continue this useful work. Let me also note that in this school year, the in-depth mathematics master's programs and programs in artificial intelligence have attracted the attention of over 3,000 students. Speaking of future doctors, teachers, agriculturalists, and the people from the industries, transportation, communications, and lawyers too. Starting from this year, they can choose a special educational module on artificial intelligence. Naturally, we're only talking about the teaching of the basic principles of machine learning and data processing, but keeping in mind the pace of technological development, we must make another step. We must rebuild the educational programs in such a manner that we can ensure the high level of competence in the area of artificial intelligence among the specialists of the key industries and areas of the social sphere. And we're talking about education for the students as well as the additional education for the specialists who are already employed. And I would ask the government to formulate the specific proposals in this area. We must introduce new educational mechanisms, but also provide an efficient evaluation. And I would ask the companies of the alliance together with the government to develop a rating of the universities according to the quality of training for specialists with the necessary competences in the area of artificial intelligence. We need good examples in front of us, and everyone will see the results. The most important criterion is the starting salary for the graduates as they get their first job. The readiness of a business to pay a high salary for a beginner is the most important factor that can be used to evaluate the competencies and the work of the specific university. Using this occasion, I would like to thank the companies who are creating the basic study centers for artificial intelligence in their own universities and invite students for internships and support the talented young people using various scholarships and later hire them for important positions. At the same time, I believe that both the business and the state should move on and create comfortable and attractive conditions for work in our country for the specialists in the area of artificial intelligence. And I once again address the representatives of the alliance. I ask you to provide your own proposals. We have a number of measures, including the reduced rate mortgages and the military draft postponement and the simplified hiring procedures and the simplified procedures for getting the work permits for foreigners. We must improve this system. And today I mentioned the young scientists who are developing the fundamental solutions, including solutions in the specially established research centers in the area of artificial intelligence. Up to the middle of this decade, we will spend up to 7.3 billion rubles for their financing from different sources. But I would like to emphasize the following. In order to achieve truly breakthrough results, not only the state but also the private business should consider the scientific development as one of its major priorities. We must involve more scientists and start our own research laboratories and sectors. We shouldn't wait for something to fall upon us. We must keep working. Since our competitors are also working, we must establish such a system, and we must finance scientific research, including research in the area of artificial intelligence. The fundamental solutions that we're creating must open new opportunities for actions and expand the horizons for business development. We must give the companies additional tools to build up their competitiveness and efficiency. And at the same time, we must consider the foreign experience and use all the best solutions that can be found and the new developments too. But let me point out, we must not blindly copy their solutions made abroad and then replicate them here. Instead, we must offer our own original approaches and technologies that would ensure the solutions at the new level of quality. This is the only way to build a truly high-tech economy, the techno-economy. For example, we're currently organizing research in the area of neural networks which would be capable of carrying out a number of tasks using various languages and various modalities, meaning that a machine can not only reproduce the human speech, it can also reproduce the emotions and develop its own cognitive skills using more perfect calculating architectures and processing architectures. The machine keeps improving itself, and the program writes itself too sometimes. And this means that we must understand exactly what is going on inside it, and of course we must control the process. This is the new technological reality, and this is what we should be oriented upon. Entire industries should use these machine learning technologies. Speaking of the Russian software, we must create and introduce such developments that would allow us to become leaders in the upcoming years. We're also talking about the automated prototyping systems which could be using the machine learning algorithms. It would be enough to upload the starting basic parameters, and then the artificial intelligence would offer and suggest its own solutions, more efficient than the human ones.
I would like to give you another example. It's related to public and financial institutions, including global ones. Today, it is obvious that such institutions are to reflect new reality of a multipolar world. She should be based upon democratic principles and to eradicate all kinds of dictatorship or abuse or monopoly. We all know that under the illegal limitations existing today, one of the challenges is financial operations, and our institutions are well aware of that. And today's payment systems are expensive ones. The system of correspondent accounts and its regulation are under the control of a narrow range of states and financial groups. In reality, they dictate everything. That's a monopoly. But we need to unite modern technologies and thousands of years of experience of the humankind. Specialists are acquainted with the Hvala system that existed hundreds of years before Western bank system was created, and it assumed and still assumes the functions of international financial operations. The essence of the system is the following. The sender gives money to a broker in the same country. The recipient gets this money in another country. Brokers, on their behalf, conduct mutual money transfers, as now it would be called a clearing system on the basis of digital currencies and decentralized registers. A new system of international payments can be established, and it will be more secure for all the participants, and it will be independent from banks and third countries. And I am positive that something of the kind will develop, because no one is satisfied with the dictatorship of these monopolies, and it harms the monopolies themselves. Now, on to technologies that help to reveal the potential of the artificial intelligence. These include quantum and photon calculations. I would like to highlight that Russia has important development in the area of quantum communications. I'd like to mention the Internet of Things, other cat crossing and industrial technologies. And companies that maintain state participation have concluded relevant agreements with the government. In summer, at the Council on Strategic Development, a national project, we analyzed in details challenges in this area, and we drew the right conclusions, and the implementation of these projects will fall within the relevant time frame. I also think that it's important to pay attention to another area where Russia is a bit behind from the leading countries of the world from the point of view of the introduction. I'm talking about industrial robots. I've already mentioned them. So in this respect, I'm asking the government to develop and approve a new federal draft on the development of Russian robotics. We need to develop a legal, tax and regulatory regimes and necessary measures of state support, as well as a mechanism of financial support and their subsequent implementation. So our colleague has just talked about KAMAZ, but I think that it concerns the whole economy. I also think that it's necessary to watch permanently this work, the work on cross-cutting technologies, and we need to consolidate the connection between science and business. We need to maintain a constant dialogue with researchers, engineers, technological companies. We need to develop solutions and to leave the barriers. So we need to act in the same way that we suggest we act at such conferences as today. In this respect, I'm asking our main companies, Rosatom and the Russian railroad companies, with the support of Sberbank, to organize and to host next year a new conference of new technologies of calculations and data transferring, while the Ministry of Industry, together with its partners, is to hold a conference on new industrial technologies. I'll try to find time in my schedule and to take part in these important events. We'll also try to invite colleagues from other countries, those who want to take part in that. We continue cooperating with a lot of them. They take part in this SCO, in BRICS, and there are other partners that are not members of these associations will continue working with us. And I'm deeply convinced that new solution changing the world can be created only through a close cooperation based on trust and high ethical standards. It concerns all technological directions, but particularly artificial intelligence. There are a lot of examples showing the most complicated algorithm developed on the principles of an open code, thanks to the work of thousands of programmers creating open libraries of solutions and developments. That's why in the area of the introduction of artificial intelligence, we will consolidate the cooperation with our interested partners from BRICS and SCO, and other partners too. We will continue joint researches and the implementation of educational programs. We will use the potential of the advanced technologies for the benefit of our citizens, and relevant documents on cooperation have been already signed. We'll continue working in this direction. Dear friends, the results that we will achieve in the area of the implementation of the artificial intelligence technologies will depend on our joint forces, on the readiness of business to consolidate its technological positions, on the ambitions of the state authorities and their willingness to improve the pace of changes and to open the way for new technologies. Since next year, we will start monitoring the results of the implementation of artificial intelligence technologies in our economy social sphere. That's why I suggest that we develop the following tool, which is called the Index of Intellectual Maturity of Branches and Regions. And on the basis of this index, we will be able to assess practical results of the work of every subject of the Federation, of every ministry, of every agency in the area of the introduction of artificial intelligence. We need also to encourage those who are moving towards the future faster. In this respect, I suggest that we establish an annual prize for young scientists and engineers for scientific and constructive breakthrough in the area of artificial intelligence, and another prize and award for achievements in the area of introduction of artificial intelligence, which will award prizes to Russian campaigns, entrepreneurs, regions and cities, and the solemn ceremony can be held in 2023 or at the next conference, Artificial Intelligence Journey. I thank you for your attention, for your patience, and I sincerely wish you success. Mr. Gref and I have decided that my work here ends at this point because I have a busy schedule, but I've looked through the program and I've visited the demonstration of different projects, and I know what kind of ideas our colleagues have. So I believe that would be a good decision to listen to some proposals that the audience can make, and then during our joint common work, you will be able to express your wishes, your considerations. Our colleagues will process this information. We'll try to implement that. Thank you very much for your attention.
Vladimir Vladimirovich, thank you very much indeed. We actually have abbreviated the program a little bit, and we chose three small presentations. The three young scientist speakers will present their propositions. They are leaders in their respective applied science areas in development and implementation of AI. And the first topic is probably one that really incentivizes all the researchers. It is not just about boosting the efficiency in the industry, it is about saving lives, and you have mentioned it. This is health, this is our healthcare. And this is a topic that we would like to bring up first. Inside Sber, we also place priority on this area. We have a company dedicated to it. It's called SberMed, and we work with our partners. Well, first of all, with Moscow, we have been implementing cutting-edge solutions, and then those solutions are rolled out by our regional partners. 63 federal entities partner with us, have been doing that so far, and they introduced a large stack of AI solutions, and they have continued to develop the technology. And with that, I would like to introduce Elena Vladimirovna Sokolova, the first scientist and researcher. She is going to tell us about what she has been doing in healthcare. Elena Sokolova launched her career in pharmacology, where she developed new biological medicines. I'm the kind of a person that wants to see the results rather quickly. In the short term, I swim, I love singing. My interest was computational biology. I led her to the AI lab of Sber. Can you use a cardiogram to diagnose diabetes at an early stage? I am proud of being the first in Russia to develop a solution that helps doctors to analyze texts and make the initial diagnosis. We did this from scratch, and we have managed to implement the solution across all the adult polyclinics in Moscow. I think this is really cool. Yes, the services that Elena is creating today diagnose the illness based on the electronic medical records, medical images, and signals. I have never liked going with the flow, staying within boundaries. I'm smart, bold, and beautiful. And I'm very fond of a good meal. AI in healthcare, Elena Sokolova, AI Lab in Sber. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I represent the AI lab of Sber, and today I would like to tell you about how we have been resolving relevant issues in healthcare using artificial intelligence. The two leading causes of death in Russia as well as the world have been cancers and cardiovascular diseases. Having said that, in 2019, cardiovascular have been the cause of about 50% of all the lethal outcomes. And because late cancer identifications, 120,000 people die within the first 12 months of the diagnosis. This is why our solution targets early diagnoses of these diseases. The main areas for our work are these. We analyze medical imagery and medical texts. And I'm now going to give you an example of one such project that we implemented in the AI lab. The project analyzes a CAT scan of the chest, and it was actually introduced in healthcare through one of our ecosystem companies that's called SberMed AI, Sber Medical AI. During the pandemic, you know that a huge number of CAT scans of the chest were made, and that really overloaded healthcare institutions. And while X-ray specialists were trying to diagnose viral pneumonia, we trained the AI engine to identify lung cancer signs. And then we experimented on real clinical data with 1,500 CAT scans. AI singled out 12 patients with highly probable lung cancer. 8 of those were actually confirmed positive, and they were taken into therapy. Now, compared to the imagery, the largest data set is accumulated as text. Poorly structured, unstructured, they are difficult to analyze. There are complaints, anamnesis, lab tests, instrumental tests, etc. In actual fact, the largest potential for healthcare lies in the analysis of such data, the textual data. Right now, the medicine has two trends. The medical science has two trends. Population analysis of the people and identification of the risk groups for chronic diseases. This aims to prevent those chronic diseases. The second trend is a personalized analysis of the huge data set around a specific patient so that healthcare can be tailored for this specific individual. Now, artificial intelligence is capable of processing any volumes of information with a very short time frame. A doctor will physically not be able to look through the entire history of medical records for any particular patient. This is why I think that AI tools should be ordinary, day-to-day assistants for ordinary doctors. One such tech assistant is a model that we have been developing with the government of Moscow. This model was trained on an unprecedented data set. That's about 30 million patient visits in Moscow clinics over 2 years. This is an analysis of the entire information about the patient, and a final diagnosis is popped up for the doctor as a second opinion. This is a unique tool for comprehensive diagnosis and monitoring of the patient condition. It has no analogs in Russia or anywhere else. And we actually trained this model with the Moscow doctor. These are highly trained professionals. And by implementing this in the regions, we can ensure a pretty high level of diagnostics around the nation. And this is just a small example of what we have been able to accomplish. The examples are numerous, not to be cited within this very short time frame. And just in keeping with the points already brought up, the barriers that need to be overcome in the industry for a large-scale and accelerated implementation of the AI models in practice. Now, the first such barrier is the legal barrier, the legal restrictions. What I would ask for is a simplification of regulation in terms of access to depersonalized medical records. We need to simplify testing and training the model, because without data, there's nothing coming about in artificial intelligence domain. The second restriction, probably not a restriction per se. Considerable steps have been made in this area. That's implementation and results assessment from AI implementation in practice. And here again, a unique and very successful project, that's Moscow Experiment. Moscow Experiment helped to analyze about 7 million X-ray images. That's about 40% of the entire volume of scanned images. And this should be the guarantor for the quality standard in such services and their security. And this will help us overcome a certain skepticism on the part of the medical community. The medical community should be led to understand just how good the quality and how strong the safety of our solution can be if introduced in their clinics. Now, here I would like to say that such solutions must be scaled to cover the length and breadth of the nation. We should probably start with the Moscow region, because in terms of technological maturity and in terms of the regulatory maturity, this is a well-developed region. And the third point that I would like to make is that after a successful implementation and assessment of such services in practice, they must be made part of the clinical recommendations and medical care standards. And in summation, I would like to say that I sincerely believe that the strength lies in synergy. Just in any industry, in healthcare, the synergy between AI and the medical community will allow us to achieve the common goals, extending the average life expectancy in Russia to 78, best 80 years. I think the implementation of AI services will help us achieve this target. Actually, that might happen quicker than we think. So much I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, I said that I wanted to listen to you and take certain notes for myself and then analyze them. But I will react to what you just said. It is true that healthcare is the most important area of activity for any state, and the longevity and the quality of life are an indicator for the work of the state in all the areas, and in the economy and in the social area. And there is no doubt that your joining the 80+ club is still the task that we're facing, and we will be moving towards achieving that goal in longevity, and we will be doing so thanks to the toolkits provided by the artificial intelligence. We already have good, positive examples which are very obvious, and we will keep working on that and alleviate any blocks and barriers in the use of such tools. I already talked about this. We must eliminate the barriers, and we must analyze all of this, and I'd be grateful to you if you provided a report on these topics, and the executive authorities, together with you, will be taking the necessary decisions. All of the three components that you mentioned, including the feedback and the expansion of these practices, are what we will be working on in the future. I already mentioned the example of the Moscow region, and you talked about this as well. I would ask the governor to say a couple of words on the topic.
Thank you, Vladimir Vladimirovich. We are trying to be friends with AI. We have been implementing it in all kinds of domains. We have all the necessary digital data for that. You visited our regional management center. The amount of data for pretty much every domain is sufficient to rationalize and look for good decisions, good solutions. We have not been reading the images so far. It's going to be happening with us next year. But we have Svetlana, the robot, that takes about 35,000 calls on a daily basis, and it helps people to book an appointment in a polyclinic or book a house visit by the doctor. We are aiming to develop AI further so it can be rolled out across the board in healthcare. At one point, we supported the solution to control garbage disposal. And starting this year, I've got two slides if I may have them on the screen. Yes. This is what it used to be in waste management. An inspector was supposed to stop a waste management vehicle, write out a fine if it was not sanctioned. After this legal solution, we put this function into the AI vision capability. The road inspector, the traffic warden, still has to write out the sign. But next year, AI will be fully capable of replacing the traffic warden, the inspector, the road police, and it's going to be a major step forward. We obviously need transformation. Partners are obviously necessary for that. It is our great pleasure that we can liaise and work together with the team in Sber, with the capital, Moscow. This synergy is definitely something that I agree with. A partnership really carries this necessary effect. And I really believe that next year we're going to show the necessary results. And in summation, we will be applying for changes to regulation, Vladimir Vladimirovich, because very often they impede further implementations of AI as, all kinds of things new. Thank you.
Speaking of simplified access to medical data, I also agree with you, keeping in mind the specifics. And as we're talking about anonymized personal data especially, we must accelerate the adoption of such decisions. Thank you and good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Yelena. Vladimir Vladimirovich, thank you. Could I ask Evgeny Vladimirovich Shlikhto to take the floor? He is the head of the Almazov Center, a leading, not just a medical institution, but he's also leading a major research institution that have been implementing AI solutions. Vladimir Vladimirovich, dear colleagues, a very interesting project, fully in line with the requirements in operation in healthcare. I would probably call this project a part of the domain where AI has been performing better than human experts, and the questions actually are being asked whether AI will replace human experts. Never to happen, but what the future is going to have, a human expert armed with an AI solution will be treating humans better, and that kind of an AI-enabled expert will replace the expert that is not AI-enabled. Yelena presented the solutions that reflect the progress and the depth of penetration that are really great. And if I may, I would like to dwell on three aspects that popped up as I listened to this presentation. The first one is that we must think about incentivizing the development of medical technologies based on artificial intelligence. How do we implement those technologies? A lot is being done in Russia. Vertical integrated healthcare is being created. The single healthcare domain is being created. The absolute majority of federal entities are part of these projects. They are transferring structured data into this domain. But if you look at the real situation, only 20 medical technologies that are in AI-enabled have been registered by Roszdravnadzor, the regulator. Questions abound related to regulation, related to promotion, the involvement of business. And our big request would be, Vladimir Vladimirovich, not just a clinical recommendation, but the mandatory medical insurance should be covering AI-enabled technologies. AI technologies should be treated as resource-intensive technologies, and companies should treat those technologies differently. The federal AI project should probably assign certain projects, certain funds to incentivize certain data sets that could be made available for common use, so that many companies do not labor to collect the data and just focus on creating the AI solutions. The second aspect that I would like to touch upon is that certain solutions would really change the organization of healthcare. We are moving towards personalized healthcare, largely thanks to artificial intelligence, digital solutions, because the development of genetics and personalized healthcare is impossible without information and artificial intelligence. But in this domain, we definitely need integrating solutions that will enable unification of all the stages of healthcare, so that they operate seamlessly, so that they are result-oriented and patient-oriented. We certainly must think about what solutions they should be. They must be platform solutions. As you have mentioned in your remarks, we definitely support the platform goal for this development, and we need to transition to proactive management of healthcare based on big data, not just using the digital solutions operated by individual agencies. And a lot of clinics can be called digital clinics, but transition to this analytics-based decision-making and treatment, not so much predictive as prescriptive management. This is what characterizes modern trends and the current state of the clinics. That is called, this condition is called value-based management. The current activities of the healthcare agencies, especially related to the high-risk patients, here AI definitely can help the medical professionals to identify such patients, project bad outcomes, and help avoid those bad outcomes. We have been working closely with the Ministry of Healthcare and with Sber. We have been doing a lot on voice processing, voice recognition technologies. We have been working a lot on creating this smart clinic project. And some of the solutions that we are actually expecting very soon can be scaled up to cover the entire country. And thirdly, and again, you have mentioned it in your remarks, we do need programs for students, we do need programs for medical professionals, medical practitioners, but based on the specialism educational programs that you signed into operation, we started from the fourth year at the university, we started to draft student-oriented educational tracks based on student preferences, unique student experiences, and unique practical skills that a student may have, and scientific achievements that the student may have in senior years at the university, which is, in my opinion, very important. Obviously, there's a lot of impediments, a lot of difficulties in implementing AI in healthcare, organizational, technical, and we saw some implementations of strong AI, ethical issues, protection of personal data. I think we can move together as a team, and this push ahead will definitely be recouped in higher life expectancy, high productivity, and obviously in the delivery of all the missions that you set for the federal project.
I know that you're actively implementing new modern technologies, and I heard your point about the creation of the system of incentivizing the development of such technologies, including artificial intelligence in the clinical recommendations and in the system of obligatory medical insurance. So we will be working in all of these areas. And speaking of the integrated solutions, I also took note of what you said and about the platforms that you mentioned. I'm not sure if Mikhail Albertovich is here, but I will talk to him about that shortly. He is a modern man, he is well aware of all of these developments, and he's trying to monitor the current trends, and the healthcare ministry is doing very useful things. This is why we're gathered here by Mr. Graf, to take a look at what can be done in the future in certain areas, including the areas of artificial intelligence. We'll be working on that. Thank you. Thank you.
Vladimir Vladimirovich, I would also like to give the floor to a very good scientist who is young but already a laureate of the Presidential Award. That's Ivan Seledets from Skoltech. Ivan, a few words about the things that you have been doing in creating this foundation for AI and model rationalization. Sir, thank you very much for this personal set of compliments. I'm going to tell you very briefly what we have been doing so that you understand what I was praised for. Now, the development of AI has been really based on a great number of small, specific models, but the direction is towards the generalist models, hundreds of billion parameters, but they can resolve a lot of cognitive tasks. They are trained on supercomputers, for instance, Christafari. The energy consumption of Christafari is really a match, is really in a par of energy consumption of a 10,000 strong city. And even this capability took 4 months to train the Kandinsky model. And all the data centers of Sber really consume the energy of the size of Vidna, as a suburb of Moscow. Just think of how much they consume. Then 4 months is really a long time. Now, why is this happening? We have been evaluating the current efficiency of the current software that trains models. We think this efficiency is about 30%, and we want to boost this figure by the factor of 2. What we have been doing in this area is this. A year ago, under the federal project supporting the AI by the Ministry of Economic Development and SBER, the energy efficiency was pursued in training the models, and in a very short time frame, the first result was obtained. The memory consumption was brought down by about 15%, and this is dozens and hundreds of billions of rubles. We use hundreds of parameters that need to be updated, and one digit really takes about 32 bits. Just for you to understand, that's 7 7 digits after the comma. Why would you need that? You need to, create 2 digits. But this will really impact the quality of the model. We have been using fundamental mathematical approach to find the spots in the very difficult process of training the model. We can replace 32 bits by 3. The memory consumption is going to be brought down by the factor of 3, and the overall time is going to be brought down by 15%. But our target is the factor of 2, not 15%. So we decided to develop our own software that was really based on essentially different principles. Just to give you an understandable example, say we have a big family, a lot of shoes, big high boots, small kids' boots. They need to be placed in boxes. There will be some space in the boxes, and this empty space in the boxes is the inefficiency of the software. So what we do is take the computing capability, we cut this into boxes. We can't really cut the boxes into pieces. Now we can cut the capability into pieces, and instead of 2 months, it's going to be, instead of 4 months, it's going to be 2 months. What do you need to do here? You need to boost the capability. The standard track here is to boost, buy more computers, and this is really based on transistor capability, and this has really exhausted its physical capability. Another 5 years will really exhaust all the potential. So the companies and the states worldwide have been looking at alternative, promising capabilities for computing. Now, what is a promising capability for computing? This can be pretty much any physical system. If you fantasize, you can say, we have, an aquarium with algae. We put light into it, there's a chemical reaction, and the reaction, gives you results that you can read. The objective of the scientist is to create a physical environment and write some software for it. One of the most promising areas, this is the famous Schrödinger cat. Superposition is a principle that quantum computing is based on. You can't find out whether the cat is alive until you open the box. Quantum processing really requires about 1 petabyte of memory. In MIT, there's a prototype of a quantum computer that has 256 quantum bit. It would take all the atoms to define this computing power. The problem of this promising computer, besides the hardware, is that you need to write the software, the algorithms for this, and these algorithms need to be written right now. What we have been doing is we are writing the software for a non-existing hardware, but when the hardware comes about, we don't find ourselves into that box as that cat. Yesterday, academic Holeva got the award for quantum theory, and the foundations of this physics was really laid by Russian scientists in math, not in physics. I think the key mission here, Vladimir Vladimirovich, is a large-scale investment into the development of the Russian software in close conjunction with the developers of hardware across the range of these computing systems. Quantum computers, photonic computers, neuromorphic computers. We don't know what the next generation is going to be, but the state that will be the first, the companies that will be the first to get the algorithms and the hardware, they will be supremely positioned in advance in this race. This will take the science forward, the economy forward, and this will obviously bring up the standards of living. Thank you, and I would like to take questions now.
At the end of your presentation, I either misheard or maybe misunderstood. You said that quantum and photon and neuroform systems exist. Yes, I heard that, and I've just put down some facts. We need to invest into Russian software, and we are trying to do that. And as far as we will consolidate our efforts, and I would be grateful if you'll tell me what we need to do specifically in this area. But as for quantum, photonic, and other calculations, there are 2 state companies, the Russian railroads and Rosatom. I think I have just mentioned that in my speech. They support the state in this area. and they've created a communication network between Russia and St. Petersburg, and we will continue to consolidate these efforts. If you can just tell us what you specifically need the state to do, we would be grateful.
Yeah, I'd like to say that the main challenge really is that we have the developers of the software and the developers of hardware. In my professional experience, the hardware developers think that software developers are personal foes, really, because, well, we are going to deliver this hardware and then we are going to code the software for it. That can not really work, might not work. The key task here is that there should be the consortium, the combination, that algorithms are developed together with the hardware, but not it's not the physics experts that should work in silos together with the AI experts. But the mentality is different, you know. It's like, look at the 90s, it was a very hard time. And maybe that kind of the mentality that's set in, you know. People are afraid that someone will get their money. This is a fact, yeah, you know. I mean, for the principally new systems, you need principally new.
But as I have already told you, we need to find such a common point on which it will be interesting for everyone to work on.
Yeah, so that everyone sees the benefits, not the danger.
Yeah, Dmitry Nikolaevich is a good specialist in this area and organizing common work. I will need to think it through.
Yes, Mr. Putin, for sure we're going to work on that. We're working with the colleagues.
I feel cautious when you say that we will do everything, that we will overdo. Anyway, we need to think about it, to talk about specialists in this area. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Putin, Ivan, thank you very much. Just one more presenter. We're very grateful to the Ivan team from Skoltech, because we have been working on this project together, and for us this saves a lot of money, 15% of saving the time for training the model, where it takes 12 months to train a model using our computational facilities, but now it's going to be 10 months. That's a lot of time saved, meaning a lot of costs that are cut, and the supercomputer obviously eats up a lot of electricity. Now, the task is to move these parameters to 50%. 50% of the time saved. That will be an absolutely unique experience, and thank you so much for your contribution. And another presenter, Semyon Budyonny. Semyon is a research fellow of the AI Institute, and he's working on, well, there are like around 100 unique AI talents working there. They are working on AI fusion models, the multidimensional models that you have mentioned before. And now the guys told us that that was the latest trend in AI. Multitasking, multi-language, and multi-model, multi-dimensional models, 3M models that are really close to human intelligence. And Semyon is developing hybrid models in quantum chemistry and neural network architectures. Semyon, please, a few words about that.
Is Semyon Budyonny Semyon Mikhailовich? No.
No. So I was tricked then, you know.
That's not a good thing when the head of Sberbank is deceived, so you need to watch carefully your possible losses.
Mr. Putin, Mr. Gref, I would like to talk about the current trends for the AI when you create new materials. I'll try to answer 3 questions. First of all, can AI develop totally new technologies that were not available to the humans before? Then I would like to talk about the current prerequisites, current achievements of AI Institute, something that we can use to pave the way for further development of technologies. And then I would like to tell how this technology seeds can be cultivated. When we talk about the using AI in materials, I'd like to talk about emergency. As the materials are moving into groups and from the chaos, and they get some new properties, like the properties of resisting to the predators. If we talk about the groups of bees, if we talk about other animals or insects, so the AI is a complicated system as well, and it can get a new function, and it can generate new technologies that were not available to humans before. And the first question that we tried to answer was if we can decrease the current cycle of developing materials by many-fold, by many times. Now, the graphene, that's a new material that was awarded at the Nobel Prize-winning committee. The Russian engineers who developed it, and the largest database is being created under the auspices of SBIR, and it will be one of the biggest databases to create and synthesize new materials with AI. When we talked about the convergency, about something that has never been produced by humans before, we were talking about the time, of course, because I mean, whether it is possible to create technologies, to create new materials much quicker. Using the graph neural networks, scientists created a quasi-crystal list. These are the materials that are basically not present on Earth. They have unique properties at the same time. They can potentially be used in electrical, in manufacturing. They have a great temperature moving qualities and properties. They can be used in metal alloys. And as you know, before humans used to focus on intuition, on the experiments and tests. It was trying to find the best recipes to create the materials, and then by aggregating this experience, humans got the levers of handling these procedures. But now AI has an intuition of its own. It can do it in several minutes and can forecast a whole class of materials. This is a binary metal, and it was calculated, forecasted, and confirmed by the experiments, AI-driven experiments. It was published in one of the best journals in crystallography, best journals in the world. There are many other examples in energy as well. Our experts were able to calculate 650,000 components for electric catalyzers, and it replaced the quantum chemistry calculations for compounds. It decreased the calculation time from 3 months to seconds, and there was a new composition that was calculated, and this is not some abstract thing. It was calculated in several seconds with AI. This is a totally new structure that actually works. We understand that creating new technologies that were not available to humans before, we should not forget about the current technologies. If we talk about materials, one of the promising technologies is the photovoltaics. We have shown and we have proved that the efficiency can be improved by 0.5%. I'd like to say that 0.5% might not seem like a lot for the photovoltaic panels, but using AI to increase that efficiency by 0.5%, and that generates an additional generation of the electricity of 9 gigawatts per hour per year. And that is comparable, according to our estimates, with around 200, 500 households that can live for 1 year using this electricity. And the further AI-driven improvement of the efficiency by 0.5% can therefore get new electricity for the households. Now, we need to work in uncertainties, lack of resources, and contradictions. For example, the design that is relevant for the car manufacturers is having several contradictions. So the material have to be very light, at the same time very sturdy, and we made models that create an image of the material, and we synthesized some of these materials with 3D printers, and all these calculations were processed by generative models. We, as scientists, also look at the and are being inspired by art. This is the poem of Mandelstam, and the technologies that synthesize this objects is the neuromorphic architecture that we use to discover new materials. The message is that we not have. It's not that we have major challenges. It's that we have great opportunities. We can move from the digital to the physical world, and the number of materials that AI can synthesize is more than the number of atoms in the universe. When we talk about that, it can be new chemical formulas, it can be new pharmaceutical products, new alloys, and that's a lot. But synthesis and the equipment, that is a bottleneck, and if we improve the situation with the equipment, we will create new technologies that would not be available, that were not available before. And here we need to focus on the creation of the special test fields to experiment and test the new materials quicker. It will be AI driven, and if we create such a flow and improve this bottleneck, remove this bottleneck, this will give us new opportunities, and the state and the scientists and the businesses should have equal access to this equipment. That's it for me. I'm ready for questions.
Thanks to you. The things that you say are, of course, inspiring, and as soon as you said that you're creating materials that do not exist in nature, do not exist on Earth, this in itself is very impressive, and of course it creates enormous opportunities for all the areas of human activity, not to mention the economy. It goes every way, including healthcare and industry. Of course, this is very promising and very interesting project, and if you say that to do that you need to create specialized polygons and have the necessary equipment. If you're having difficulties with that, I will work on that with the colleagues from the government. We will consider what can be done, and Mr. Gref will tell us something more to do, and we will specify the necessary steps that we need to take to move along the path that you're showing us. Thank you very much to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Semyon. Thank you so much, Mr. Putin.
We have 5 people here, and it wouldn't be impolite if we don't let them have the floor. If you can be brief, speak a few words about the problems at hand and the tasks that you see ahead of you. We have 2 more people left, I see.
Yeah, we have 2 more people, so maybe just quick about the problem.
Yes, state the problem and what exactly you would like to see us do and have as support.
So Alexei Naumov, please, High School of Economics, can you start? Mr. Putin, colleagues, I'm working on reinforcement learning, and this is a very important task because it emerges when it is needed when you develop driverless cars, automate manufacturing facilities, data center work and handling, and reinforcement learning is underpins the systems. There are many examples where AI with using RL is playing Go and winning. This case, the RL is not just a simple AI model. It is learning as people do, as kids do when they try to learn how to work. If you look at driverless cars, for example, it also interacts with the environment, with other participants of the traffic, and it gets rewards and fines depending on the successes. And you need to find the optimal strategy that would maximize the rewards and minimize the fines. And here the major problem is the accumulated experience, the volume of that experience. And when we teach driverless car, obviously you need to spend a lot to teach it on practice. So we don't see it on the road right now that much. And many other countries are doing the special digital twins, and we need to do that right now. So in the digital twin, you can create a profile of these driverless cars and train it there. But there are problems that arise, and you have mentioned these problems. If we start using this model of the digital twin on practice, the cost of the error, the cost of the mistake is huge, and that means that you need to find the robust algorithms with the mathematical guarantees for this reliability, this robustness. My team did just that. And actually quite often there are groups of researchers that do great math, but it's not really applicable, and there are many teams that are doing great applications that are not really that cannot work without the theory underpinning it. We have made an algorithm that has the mathematical guarantees for the robustness. At the same time, you can move it to the real environment. So this work was praised by the scientific community. And obviously in Russia, we now need to develop this RL because it is in the automation for the manufacturing. You can cut the costs and make driverless cars in the future. And obviously we need to develop the fundamental research. We need to drive the engineering schools, because without the engineers we won't be able to launch our algorithms on the hardware. And as part of the federal project, there is, you've talked about that, there are AI excellence centers, 6 of them. These are the support centers that was supported by the Ministry of Economic Development. By 2024 will be supported by this ministry. We think that this is a great initiative, and Mr. Putin, I think that we ask you to extend this initiative up to 2030, and we will be very happy if there are new centers of AI for the promising and emerging AI areas.
Thank you very much, Alexei. Speaking of the extension of the program, we will consider that definitely, and I think that we will do that. And speaking of the new centers, and you all heard about that, please think about what can be done, and upon consideration, we will take the necessary decisions. I thank you, and I wish you good luck. And yes, speaking of self-driving cars, I know that we have very good experience and developments in this area, and we are in some cases ahead of our competitors, and we're getting ready to experiment on the use of self-driving cars on the Moscow-St. Petersburg highway. Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Putin. The last, not least, in our list, is the scientist, a female scientist from St. Petersburg, from ITMO. She has a great experience in being a professor at the university and a great researcher. Anna, please, could you present your scientific achievements? Mr. Putin, thank you very much. I have prepared the presentation, but I'm not going to show it. I think I'm working on the automation of the ML. Basically, this is AI that helps to create and generate another AI solutions. Why are we doing that? Because this year we see that the need for AI experts is 7 times higher than the level that we experienced 3 years ago. That means that there are more applicable tasks that you need to resolve, the more tasks for implementation and introduction, therefore more experts that need to do that, and it is going to grow. And obviously we will not be able to graduate that number of experts in this area. This is why we are developing the algorithms in ITMO that can help to increase the speed of implementation of AI in terms of time and in terms of compute. Because, well, objectively speaking, not all companies have this great compute capacity, and with these algorithms we can decrease the time for the development of AI solutions and its introduction in the system to just several days. So you can now easily say that we have algorithms, we can develop them. What do we lack to introduce AI in the industry? on the scale. Well, first of all, we talk about data, about industrial data, because apart from the banking area or a retail, industries and manufacturing industries, they have different equipment. It's hard to generalize that. Then we have a lack of technology test fields that could work for at least the core industries, for the main processes. On these testing fields, we would be able, as algorithm creators, to show what these algorithms can deliver, and the industry experts would be able to appreciate that and to understand and what would be the risks of the implementation, because now the implementation projects are being stalled because when an AI algorithm is developed and introduced, it leads to some additional measures that you need to implement. You need to change the entire business processes or sometimes the entire system, and this is a major challenge. And I think that on these testing fields, it would be possible to resolve this problem. That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I took some notes from your speech, and speaking of the technological polygons and the data, especially in the area of industry, this is a comprehensive task, and we need to work with the specific industries, and with your help, I hope, we will manage to understand how exactly we can establish such work and how we can incentivize our colleagues in various areas of the industries to make sure that your colleagues who are working in this field can have the necessary foundations for their future work. And to sum up everything, we will be working on that. It is most important. I agree with you there. And in my speech, I also mentioned the priorities in the area of professional training and education, and we can comprise it all together. There is no doubt that we can achieve the necessary results in all the other areas of activity as well. I mean, everything related to artificial intelligence. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank all of you for your work and for today's participation in this work, for your involvement. I would thank Sber and Mr. Gref for paying attention to this serious topic, and you are not abandoning this area. You keep working on it and supporting it, just like with all the other participants of the process. And you're working with the people who are involved in the scientific arts and the people who organize this work in the companies and in the government. I would like to wish you all the success, since this is no exaggeration to say that your success will define the success of the country in general. This is most definite, and there is no doubt about it. And we must understand this as well, and we must realize this as we go towards our goals. But sure, we will only be able to find an efficient solution if we bring together the efforts with the people from the industries. Thank you very much, and goodbye.